5-time world karate kickboxing champion Anthony Allen from Memphis, Tennessee. This video is titled Black History Month African Dinner honors the legacy of Reverend James Bevel, the architect and strategist of the Civil Rights Movement. The purpose of our dinner is to kick off the movement to rightfully get President Biden to award Reverend James Bevel the Presidential Medal of Freedom. For those of you who do not know of James Bevel, let me tell you why he should be given the Presidential Medal of Freedom. This is a June 1963 issue of Jet magazine, whereas you see Dana Nash, the 2022 recipient of the Presidential Freedom Award. You see her with her husband at the time. Now this is June 1963 with Reverend James Bevel. Now in this picture, Jet magazine, they both were just released from prison to see their baby because they were in prison in Mississippi fighting for the cause of freedom and justice for black people. Now, Reverend James Bevel, Dana Nash, John Lewis, Marion Barry, and others integrated restaurants, movie theaters, and they started the freedom rides in Mississippi. Even more significant to Dana Nash is the work of James Bevel. You see, Bevel joined the SCLC in 1962, and he did this as an equal partner to Dr. Martin Luther King. Now, you see, what I did not realize is that Bevel was the trainer of those people in the movement. He went out and trained people and conditioned them and told them about the movement of passive resistance. It was James Bevel who did this work. Now, what I want you to see, and I want you to look at, I want you to look at pictures that was taken in May of 1963, where James Bevel led one of the most significant protest movements in American history. You see, in 1963, they did protests in Alabama, and older people at the time, you see, because of the killing, the raping, the burning, the Ku Klux Klan, black people could not do things in Alabama. However, James Bevel came up with a brilliant idea, in that he used children to fight for the cause of civil rights. Now, what I want you to see, and you probably have seen these pictures on the news, but you may not have realized that in these pictures of Alabama are youth. You see, youth who were high school students, even youth as low as 6 years old. They fought in the Civil Rights Movement. Now, what happened was the youth were doing peaceful protests, and Bill Cosby, the police officer in Alabama, put water hose and dogs, and they intimidated people doing peaceful protests, and they put water hose on little bitty children. Now, what you see and what Bill Cosby did was, on the news, everybody could see these little kids marching. They had thousands of youth put in jail in Alabama, and they put all these youth in jail for protesting for civil rights. And what happened was, on the TV and over the world, everybody saw the brutality that Bill Cosby was committing against the constitutional rights of people who had a right to protest for civil rights. It was President John F. Kennedy who sent the National Guard to Alabama to protect these young people and their right to protest for civil rights in Alabama. And this was over the news. This is what helped change the civil rights movement because the federal government had to come in and protect peaceful protesters. And what you see in Alabama, it was called the Children's Crusade, where children were used to help fight for civil rights. Now, this is in May of 1963. Now, let's move to August 28, 1963, where we had the March on Washington. Now, during the March on Washington is the time when Dr. Martin Luther King made his famous I Have a Dream speech. Now, let's move to November 22nd, 1963. Just 3 months after Dr. Martin Luther King had his I Have a Dream speech, President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. So this is November of 1963. Now, let's move on. You see, we can move now to James Bevel in 1965. You see, there was a march from Selma to Montgomery. And this was in Alabama, where James Bevel was the brainchild of this march. Now, this march is known as Bloody Sunday, whereas peaceful marchers were crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Now, this is in 1965, and they were met with harsh brutality, where the state troopers beat up and brutally beat peaceful protesters, and this happened in Alabama. Now, this was called the March from Selma to Montgomery. Now, what I want you to look at is that in 2014, there was a movie made called Selma. And in the movie, it tells about the march over the Edmund Pettus Bridge in the movie Selma. Now, it was the brainchild of Reverend James Bevel who organized, who put together this historic march in 1965. Now, we moved to 1966. In 1966, James Bevel led the march in Chicago for fair housing, to have it where children can be protected, to get rid of the slums in Chicago. This is in 1966 when James Bevel led this march. Now, James Bevel, because of what he did in Chicago, in 1968, they passed the Fair Housing Act. Now, let's move to 1967. In 1967, Reverend James Bevel led the most sought out, or the most significant march against the Vietnam War. In fact, on April 4th, 1 year before Dr. Martin Luther King got killed at Riverside Baptist Church, Dr. Martin Luther King and the SCLC came out against the Vietnam War, where the SCLC and Dr. King and James Bevel, they led some of the greatest and largest protests against the Vietnam War, and it was James Bevel who put this on. Now, in 1968, when Dr. King got assassinated, James Bevel went on a sabbatical, and you didn't hear any more from James Bevel for a while. He left the SCLC in 1969. He went into sabbatical. He went into meditation to see what he's going to do. Now, what happened was, we moved now into 1971. In 1971, I had graduated high school, and I had started taking classes at the then Memphis State, which is now the University of Memphis. It was in 1971, I was an 18-year-old college student, where I met Reverend James Bevel, who had led some of the most fundamental and important marches in the civil rights era that ever happened. Now, in 1972, I remember that we went to the first political convention in the world. It's the Black Political Convention. This is, I think, March 11th, 1972. I went with James Bevel, and I was a delegate of the first Black Political Convention. This is the picture of me with Bevel and our group at Lemoyne College. I was 19 years old in 1972. We heard Queen Mother Moore, who was one of the pioneers in the civil rights movement. She goes far back with Marcus Garvey, Back to Africa movement. To learn more about our movement and our African dinner honoring James Bevel, we put together a website called James Bevel Presidential Medal of Freedom Award.com. We created a website and we had a dinner to kick off the James Bevel Presidential Medal of Freedom Award. We at Memphis kicked off the James Bevel Medal of Freedom Award with the James Bevel African Dinner. What we're doing for you is that we're putting together a plan and an exciting video. Join us in kicking off the James Bevel Presidential Medal of Freedom Award via a virtual video.
The Kim Weston, the Black National Anthem.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening sky. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Won't you sing it with me, everybody? Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun, a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, built in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with our steady feet, we come to the place with our Father.
Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
We're a winner. I never let anybody say.
So tell me, how you enjoying the food?
I'm enjoying it.
So tell me about it. Tell what you got here.
The greens were so good without meat and without the water.
Yeah.
But they were tasty.
So what's your name?
Almond.
Huh? Tell your full name. Okay. You're welcome. Okay. Tell who you are and tell us about the food. Tell what you think. Tell us who you are.
Jimmy Treadwell.
Okay, Jimmy, tell us about
Who got it?
So Jimmy, you eat this African food, how you like it?
I love it.
Love it. All right. You get down on the African food.
We're all moving on up. Moving on up. Lord have mercy, we're moving on up now. Moving on up. Moving on up. Moving on up.
Hi, I'm Linda Williams, and I tell you, boy, you did it, and we thank you. I am a charter member of the Bevel Historical Society.
Oh, really?
Yes. We are.
Well, we're going to get some more into it. Let's get this lady over here. How you doing, Patricia? Tell us who you are.
I am Patricia Lee, and I am so thankful and grateful. And want to say thank you for continuing to keep the history alive and doing what you're doing, inviting us into your home continuously. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can you imagine such a thing? Well, I would say the way I'm sure most of you would say, we don't give a damn, we're a winner anyway. Right on? Yeah, I got a little strength out there tonight.
So, how you doing? Look, how are you enjoying the greens and ugali?
It's really wonderful meal.
And how you like eating with the hands in the old days?
Well, I grew up eating greens with my hands.
So you right at home, huh? Tell us what's your name?
Zola Simpson,
What's your last name? Zello Simpson. And how old are you?
77.
Now where you from?
I'm from Meridian, Mississippi.
Okay, great. And okay, who are you? Tell us who you are.
I'm Cairo.
Okay, and tell us about yourself.
No more tears do we cry. The black
What school you went to? What year you call it VTO? Okay. Let's get you. How you doing over there?
I am well.
And how are you having this African dinner?
Hey, I'm handling it. I am so familiar with eating with my fingers. My mother taught me years ago. So I'm just enjoying everything.
Okay, now let's get this young man here. And how you doing, young man?
I'm doing good.
Now tell us who you are.
I'm Masavia Greer.
Masavia Greer. And you have a very famous dad who we are celebrating here today. What's your dad's name?
I think it's James Bevel. I'm not sure.
James Bevel. James Bevel is the architect, the strategist, the civil rights movement. But then let me go talk to somebody who really knows James Bevel, and that is your mom. So now tell us who you are.
Mary Greer would
Continue to be a winner, all of you.
Okay, and how are you enjoying your dinner?
I am loving it because it takes me back home.
መጨረሻው አብራችሁ ሁሉ አመሰግናለሁ።
Thank you for watching our Black History Month African Dinner, honoring the legacy of the strategist and architect of the civil rights movement, Reverend James Bevel, whereas we're coming together to help get James Bevel deservedly the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Thank you very much. I am Anthony M. Elmore.